I'm your host, Mystic Raven. Well, at least I think I am. Anyways, guys, so as most players know, I'm more renowned in Elder Scrolls, and especially on YouTube, throughout the community for healers. But I do tanks, I do DPS, I do a lot of things. I'm really known for healers. But I do tank, and I have every class as a tank, but I always keep the typical or the more standard, custom builds that we're familiar with on the back burner, because, everybody does it, so, it kind of bores me what everybody typically does. But, I finally got around to starting to gear my tank. I'm still working on his Undaunted for my Dragonkight tank. This is called the Unyielding Brute build. Alright, and I'll go ahead and get into the build, and I'll go ahead and get into a little background story about tanking and my experiences in Elder Scrolls, especially in the beginning and up till now. But let's go ahead and get into the build first, right, guys? Okay, so we're going to go to the character sheet. So I'm sorting board on both sides, so nothing's going to change as far as stats. I don't have to go ahead and swap it out or anything like that. But you're going to go ahead and see my max magic is at 16,074. After my Undaunted metal bumps up, all these stats will change. Magic recovery is at 1,112. Health recovery is 475. Stamina recovery is 806. Stamina 18,557, and max health is currently 45,000. Spell damage, whatever. Base resistance without any major changes applied to my resistance for my shielding stuff is base 19 and 21. To the left, you're going to see it's kind of a little chaotic, but this is how I prefer my allocated points. 15 magicka, 23 health, 26 stamina, and I'm running the lady. That's going to increase my spell and physical resistance, and I will tell you guys why I have that Munda specifically. So let's get into the gear here. I'm going to be running, hold on, let me go ahead. I'm going to be running Plague Doctor, Ebon, and of course, as you guys can see, the Blood Spawn. So let's get into this. Plague Doctor Sword, Crusher, Enchant, important on tank all the time. Tank should be running Crusher. No exception to the rule. Why? Because it doesn't stack. The tank applies the Crusher. That reduced. Now, most people like to go infused, right? I do not. Especially with tanks. Sword tank, I use decisive. This build, I use decisive. Why am I using decisive? For my Warhorn uptime. That's why I prefer decisive. If you want to use infused, you can. I prefer the decisive because I'm running Blood Spawn. Anytime I take damage, I can generate ultimate. With decisive, anytime I gain ultimate, I have a 20% chance to gain an additional ultimate. That helps my uptime on Warhorn. So that's me. That's my play style. Okay, for anybody who's not familiar with Plague Doctor, max health adds 4% healing taken, and also gives me additional 3,907 max health. Now this is not ideal. Plague Doctor's Shield. Currently I have both of them in pen. They need to be infused. Why infused? Simple. You're getting the most out of your health. The more health you have, the more your effects will mitigate. I will get into the skills. Okay, so I have a sword on one side and I have the maul on the other. The only reason I have a maul and a sword, it helps distinguish which bar I'm on. Just that simple. Just that simple. That's why I have one sword, and that's what I have one maul. Once again, Crusher, decisive. I never deviate. Always applying the Crusher for my party members. Right? Once again, Impen, I'm trying to get infused. I really am trying. Blood Spawn Mask, Divine, this is supposed to be infused. I don't have a medium infused for some reason. I don't know. I have the Divine. It's supposed to be infused. Okay, so that's not ideal. That's why it's not gold. Plague Doctor Curse, infused, ideal, max health. Blood Spawn, Divine, Glyphed, max magicka. If you want to go sturdy, you can. I don't really need it, but if you want to go sturdy, you can. I just prefer the Divine to add the more resistance, and that is why I'm also going to go ahead and use that Mundus, because both of these sets that I have, the Plague Doctor and the Ebon, lack physical and spell resistance. 31k is kind of like, the point of threshold where you want to be. So that Mundus helps dramatically since the sets don't have resistance. That's why I'm using it. And Divine just helps with that. So for me, Divine is ideal on the shoulder. I'm looking for a Plague Doctor Sturdy, but currently I have Reinforced. That's why this is not gold. I'm looking for the Sturdy. That's where I want to go, or I can go with another Divine. Ideally, I want the Sturdy. Ebonheart Gloves. I ran out of temper. Divine, max health, ideal. Ebon Greaves, infused, ideal. For anybody who doesn't know what Ebon is, health, healing taken, increased max health by 1,092 for me and 11 other party members. I enjoy this set for trials. The more health they have, the more damage they can take. Kind of alleviates the healers, like, throughout the rotation. Little bit towards whatever, big time difference. So I like the Ebon. You don't have to go with Ebon, but I like it for trials. Also, Ebon Sabatons, Divine, ideal, max health. I also have my Ebon necklace, glyphed Magicka Return. Plague Doctor, ring, Magicka Return, and of course Ebon ring, Magicka Return. Now a lot of people are going to ask, why do you have so much recovery into Magicka and not stamina? Well, I'm a DK. So every time I activate, my shield, I'm getting stamina return, but the one thing I'm lacking is Magicka, and all of my base utility effects are casting Magicka, not stamina. So I need a little bit more Magicka, and remember, when I weave with a sword, I'm getting stamina returned and not Magicka. So that extra Magicka recovery helps, but also keep in mind, if I have to use a shard or an orb, I want the extra stamina for block. I don't want Magicka returned on this build, I want stamina returned. So stamina is going to be going ahead, scaled up a little bit higher than my Magicka, but since my Magicka is lower, I want my Magicka recovery a little bit higher. So there you have it. That's why that's set up that way. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the skills, and I'll go over to why I have it this way. I use the Unrelenting Grip, right? So I'm tanking. In any scenario, there could be an ad that's off in the distance, especially in like Hellraw Citadel. You have, the flame shapers or whatever. They're throwing fireballs. The one thing I want to do, everybody's laying down AoEs. I want to use this ability to pull ads into the pull, into the AoE. So for me, this ability comes in handy all the time for getting those back ads. If for some reason I cannot pull them, I go ahead and am refunded not refunded, but if a target cannot be pulled, I'm restored 100% of the ability's cost as for the Magicka. So if they can't be pulled, it doesn't cost me anything. Majority of the time, I can pull in the long distance ads into the mix, hit them up. Pierce Armor, I do not use Ransack, I use Pierce Armor. Why? Well, simple. Major Fracture and Major Breach. A lot of people like to use the Alley Drain. I'm not going to say that it doesn't have a function. Some builds I'd use it, some builds I don't. I'm situational. It's completely situational on who's doing what and what. I have it on majority if I'm running Resto Destro. But for me as a tank, I should always be applying this. I should not be assuming that the Major Breach is being applied. So this is going to go ahead and help apply the Major Fracture in the Major Breach. Igneous Shield, no doubt. This scales health. Back in the day when I first started this game, tanks were doing the most awkward things. Running around with 25k to 30k health. And they called themselves a tank. Now, I've been doing MMOs for 21 years. Never until I came to this game did I ever hear a tank say, that's too much health. But they did! I have videos of it. I have a video where I had like 60 dislikes, and majority of the comments was like, it's too much health. You're fucking idiots! There's no such thing. There's no such thing for a tank. Tanks, always. The more health, the more mitigation. This ability is a fact to that. The more health I have on my tank, the more this ability mitigates for. But you can watch them. You can all watch them a year, 2 years ago. They all had tanks like 25, 30k. They weren't tanks. They were over-glorified paperweights. And as a healer, it sucked fucking healing them. Remember when they said allocation was best for a tank? Please, don't make me fucking smack you. Ugh, fucking morons. 21 years, I swear to God. Never, ever. But now it's a thing. It's the meta. Oh my God, whatever. Anyways, so the more health you have, the more this ability scales up and mitigates the damage. So there's no such thing. The question of it is, you know, how well can you manage resources? I like to stay around 50. I'm pretty comfortable with that. So by the time this build and my Undaunted Metal's up, I'll be looking at 50k. I'm at 45 right now, but everything said and done, he'll be pushing about 50 when I get all the ideal pieces. And to me, that's perfect. If you want to go higher, you can, but I like the blood spawn. Some people want to stack the infused with the health and go with like Valkynscorian and something. Hey, that's fine if you want to do that. Me, I like the Valkynscorian because I'm getting the extra resistance and I'm getting the extra ultimate. That affects my Warhorde time, so I'd rather have that. Green Dragon Blood. Okay, so for me, this is pretty standard, these two together. I'm going to get the Major Mending with this, and then when I hit the Green Dragon Blood, that's going to affect my heal, right? So it allows me to go ahead and give myself a self-heal, but the most important thing what it does for me is give me the Major Fortitude and the Major Endurance. And the Minor Vitality, increasing my health recovery, stamina recovery by 20%, and my healing received by an additional 8% for 23 seconds. That's why I have it. Absorb Magic. This is on my main bar. I use this depending on the boss encounter because it absorbs up to 25,453 damage from the next spell casted at me and heals me 15% of what? Of what? My max health. My max health. Keep in mind, guys, there were tanks running around 25, 30k. That was the thing. Fucking dumbasses. Anyways, also why I have it slotted, it also increases the amount of damage I can block by 8% and reduce the cost of my blocking by 8%. So this is my primary bar. Also, I have Werewolf Transformation slotted. The only reason I have this slotted, I do not use it. I never use this. It just gives me an extra stamina recovery by 15%. So it's always going to be on my main bar. A lot of people like to go ahead and use the standard. If you want to do that, that's fine. I just like the extra stamina recovery, but that's me personally. Also, Inner Beast, range taunt, every day, all day. And then I can also offer synergy for me and my party members, dealing 4,223 magic damage to all nearby enemies. So if I need a range taunt, I go ahead, taunt them, try to pull them, and it offers a synergy. Heroic Slash. This is a big one for me. It's going to give the minor maim to the target, but also it gives me the minor heroism, granting me one ultimate every 1.5 seconds for 9 seconds. Keep in mind I'm using decisive. So every time I gain ultimate, I have a chance to gain additional ultimate. That's why I use this along with the blood spawn. I want to go ahead and increase the my Warhorn uptime. That's what I'm trying to do. Hardened Armor, no surprise. Major Resolve, Major Ward. Remember, I'm missing resistance in my gear, so I want to go ahead and cap up closer as possible to that 31. That's going to increase physical and spell resistance by 5,280 for 20 seconds. And also, it's going to give me a shield, which is equivalent to 16% of what? Of what? Once again, max health. Okay, Choking Talons. A lot of DKs like burning talons. That is a huge fucking mistake on your DK. Take the choking. For God's sakes, if you're a DK tank, every day, all day, Choking Talons. Why, Mystic? Why should I take Choking Talons if I'm a DK tank? I don't know. Maybe because it puts a minor maim on all the fucking targets affected. I don't know. That could reduce damage to your party members, especially in Bet Mall. It comes in handy. But, once again, what do I know? Anyways, yeah, I use the Choking Talons. And, of course, I like to stack the shields, so guess what I'm going to do? Yep, that's right. I'm going to add the Bone Shield because it's going to also absorb additional damage along with my Igneous Shield, which costs Magicka. But guess what? This costs stamina up to 33% of what? Once again, max health. There you guys go. Tanking 101 MMOs. Gotta love it. And of course, I have the Warhorn. I'm getting ready to morph this to the aggressive Warhorn. But there you go. There's the skills. Now let's go ahead and get into the champion points, okay? So we'll start off with the tower. So I have 904 into Warlord. It reduces the cost of my break freeze by 904. I have tenacity at 909. I do weave with heavy attacks. That increases my stamina return. Also, I'm going to be needing a lot more magic recovery because I weave more with the sword. So I'm more dependent on Arcanist, slightly more than Mooncalf. Well, I put Mooncalf up higher, but I need more. I need Arcanist. I need this for my utilities as a DK. So it's 909. Mooncalf, I block, so I need stamina recovery. That's at 1110. Healthy, I'm a tank. I want health recovery. I'm not using a health recovery set, so I put that at 909. Going over here, it's all about the block, guys. It's all about the block. But I have this at 1602. All right? Works out great for me. Okay, I'm going to do a slight amount of self-healing, remember, with coagulated blood, so I put Blessed at 206. I don't have any penetration as a tank, meaning my damage is next to nil. So a lot of the effects that I'm doing that will be dealing magic damage or physical damage, I need some pen. So I put 38 points into my penetrations because I'm not really worried about the base value. I'm more worried about the penetration value because I'm missing penetration. Okay, so physical weapon expert, right? 25, I'm going to be using a lot of weaving attacks with the sword, 15.38. Master at Arms, I'm going to be dealing more direct damage, right, with weaving and stuff, so 1208. And then, of course, Thermaturge, this affects some of my dots as a DK, so I'm going to go ahead and put this at 1208. And once again, penetration. I'm missing penetration as a tank. Don't have it in my passives, and I do not have it in my armor. I'm not running sharpened, so I'm going to go ahead and put piercing up to 51. And of course, besides my dots, I want to increase any physical damage, and that's at 10.15. Okay, all about resistance here. I have this at 19. I know it should be slightly over, but Ironclad. 51 points. I'm comfortable with it. I'm not too anal. Hardy and Elemental Defender split at 10-1-5. I don't have any in the thick skin. I notice that most of the time, anytime I put points in here, even though there might be some dot damage, I'm going ahead and I'm pretty much absorbing a lot of the blunt blows anyway. So I'm really not affected by that as much as in most boss mechanics are direct. So I go that way with the tank. Bastion, remember I have a lot of shields, so I put this at 13.13. Quick recovery, once again, I'm a tank. I want to increase my healing received, so why am I not going to go ahead and utilize this? There's no reason not to, so I'm going to go ahead and put 1110. I put 3 in heavy armor focus. I should put 1 over in the other point, but hey, should be 2, 1 in the other, if you're a stickler about it. And that is how the champion points are spent. Now, guys, like I said, I typically keep the more custom tanks like this on the back end. I've had the DK for a while. I just haven't done anything with them because I run a shitload of more tanks. A lot of my subs would tell you I have the Warden tank, I have the Sorcerer tank, I have the Nightblade tank, I have the Templar tank. So the DK was, yes, unfortunately, last on my list. Same thing with Templar Healer. Just everybody does it, so I'm always the type of person like, why do I want to do what everybody else is doing? Not to say DKs are bad tanks. DKs are actually great fucking tanks. Never going to say they're not. TKs are beast-ass tanks. So, oh, I got to turn this in from yesterday. Got 1 key from that. Okay. Blackheart Haven. I didn't actually get to do any of the other ones. So, let me go ahead. I'm going to drop this one. I know white gold's the other one, but...
Last time.
Okay. So as usual, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go into it. So Elden Hollow 1, Blackheart Haven. Make sure my food buff has, yeah, 50 minutes, we should be good. Warhorn can now be morphed. Yes, thank you, please. Up. 1 second. Okay, I'm not in chat. For some reason, though, I'm always getting into this dungeon last. I don't know why. I have no idea. What happens, man? I mean, I really don't know. Now, I am an orc. If anybody wants to know what race I am, I'm an orc. You can go Nord. Really good. Actually, you can kind of go a lot of different races, depending on... Oh, no, if it let me have anything that's in here. Oh, and it's junk. So, I am an orc. I like the orc. I like Nords, too. Argonians are really good tanks. Alright. The wrong button there. Stack that shields up. Make sure I heat up. Heavy. Okay. Nope, wrong button. Now if I need to, I'll throw the pot. I try not to go ahead and like use the potions as much. I only drop potions when I absolutely need to, especially on mechanics that I need a block. Like right then and right now. Also, I try not to go ahead and rely on shards as much. I try to keep that available for my DPS and such. So I'm able to do a lot of between potion juggling, weaving, especially in harder mechanics. I don't have a problem. A lot of things that drain my stamina is running. Now what I usually do is I root everything as much as possible, start hitting everything, reapply the root, put the shields up. See if any adds over here, drag them in. Hit the potion. Same thing. I'm gonna go in here, put up the shield. Pull in this add over here. Reapply. Remember, it reduces the damage they deal. spellcaster. Put up that shield. Blow the war horn. All right. Hopefully they know where to stack. Like I said, I'm still looking for those Plague Doctor infused shields, though. It's got to happen, and I got to get the medium infused blood spawn. Once that's done in my Undaunted, I'll be boosting about 50k. Like I said, if you're comfortable with more, by all means, I'm comfortable with 50k because I like the blood spawn. My personal preference. You know, this become pretty standard. But if you guys look back a couple months ago, when I first started talking about tanking, in that 40k base, where to start, like your starting stats. Look at them all. Well, look at every friggin' comment. Look at how many dislikes I got. And you heard tanks like, that's too much health. I'm like, in 21 years of MMOing, I've never heard of such a fucking comment. Never fucking heard a comment like that in my fucking life. And after watching tons of these fucking dumbasses, like tank experts posting this shit, I understood how the tanks were friggin' just duped into believing that. It was frustrating. It was so frustrating coming into this game with that misconception. And why am I, taking forever to load? I'm surprised it hasn't popped up. This may be an unusually long load time. There it is. There it is. Of course. Alright. Trunk. Sometimes I get keys or recipes I need. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I need more lockpicks on this dude. Lockpicks are good for me on this tune. You dumbass. Stack over here. I'll pull him. Doesn't matter, I'm the tank anyways. Get the fuck away, dude. You're gonna piss me off. Range pull. Pretty good. Now, I prefer to be the skeleton, obviously. Yep. Now, I can't apply the major breach at the moment, because I'm a skeleton. Come on. Transform should be dropping anytime. Okay. Perfect. I got the taunt and he's skeletoning me again. Perfect. That's kind of what I want to go for. Just getting major fracture, major breach, increasing their DPS while I'm a freaking skeleton. Whacking this. It's like whack-a-mole. Your black heart. War horn now. And there it is. Impen, it's pretty good. Ring, that's cool. That's cool. All right. Anyways, guys, so yeah, I just wanted to get this build out there. I said to get it out there. Like I said, I got to get the Undaunted passive up in the infused shields and the infused. By the time that head of blood spawn, by the time I get all those set up, I'll be looking at around 50k. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with it. You know, 50k is really good for me as a player. I can play pretty much any content with that much health. I mitigate a nice amount of damage. If, like I said, you want to go higher, you can. I just like Evan for my party members. So some people don't. Plague Doctors is a really good set. Remember with Plague Doctors, though, if you don't have a resistance set, the Lady is a good Mundus for tanks, right? Just try not to get over that 31k. And for God's sakes, like I said, look back. Go to any of the tank YouTubers or whatever. Look at their health videos prior to whatever, one Tamriel. We were bitching. Like my tanks, my guild tanks never rolled under 45k. Didn't fucking happen. Didn't happen at all. Just friggin' didn't. Right? We never rolled under 45k, especially going into trials. Matter of fact, my Sork tank in my guild, he was looking at 50. His DK was looking at like almost 60. And he was able to maintain his resources. I'm like, I wouldn't say that's ever too much health because I know what you're mitigating for. So I'm not going to complain about it. But for me, I think, you know, anywhere, you know, depending on the tank, the class tank, the mitigation, the effects, anywhere 40 is a good base, and then work your way up from there. I would suggest anybody who's going to try to start tanking, start off at 40, right? And then build your way up, because it's about managing resources as a tank. That is where it's at. And the more effectively you can manage your resources, the more and the less dependent you are on your healers for resource management, the better a tank you become, because those tools though and utilities can be applied to DPS. That's where you want to be as a tank. You want to work on when to block, when to debuff, when to apply the effects, and how you rotate. Your rotation is not a set thing. It's situational depending on the encounter. So working as a tank, once again, resource management is priority as far as how, and the better you become as a tank, you can scale your health up higher, thus mitigating more damage. And that's a plus. That's always going to be a plus. So once again, this build isn't, you know, very, you know, flashy with any, you know, I use what works. I'm not going to go ahead and change anything that doesn't work. But once again, majority, except for the sorcerer tank, his shields are set up different than any of the other tank shield systems. Most of the tanks, shield, scale, max health, bone shield, obsidian shield, all of these will scale. Like you guys seen my DK healer, right? He mitigates half the amount of this, but he mitigates then heals the difference. So for the DK tank, it scales to their max health. Right? The more health I have, the higher this goes. How do I know that? Well, it's very simple here. Let's go ahead and drop the shield. Let's just drop it off, right? So I'm going to lose that bonus for my max health, right? Because the Plague Doctors gives me an additional 3,907 max health, right? Right or wrong? Now look, went from 5,004 to 4,003, right? No, it's just the way it is. Now I put the shield back on, right? It's nothing crazy. I go back into the skill, right? Now I'm back up to 5,097. It scales max health, right? There's no such thing as you can have too much health as a tank. It's about how effective you are at managing your resources. So long as you can manage your resources and you're able to be efficient as a tank, as a tank, you're going to mitigate more damage the higher your health is. I'm comfortable with 50k. But, you know, I always start at around 40. Most of my tanks have about 45k, typically. Unless I'm doing trials and I need mitigation, an extra mitigation for those encounters, then I'll put a high health set like Plague Doctor's on. Well, except Sork Tank, he's, like I said, he's set up different. But I would probably still put Plague Doctors on there. I use Dragon and, you know, another set for the Broker build. But, once again, guys, go back, and watch them. And look at their shields. Look at their mitigation. It sucked. People, when I was healing trials and I saw tanks rolling out, Kosh, I wanted to smack them fucking backwards as a main tank. Off tank, there's a lot of rules. You can bend the rules as an off tank, right? You can go under as an off tank. You can go about 35 for an off tank. Off tank, that's fine. Main tank, rolling out, Kosh. I wanted to beat these bitches. I just wanted to. It's Biss. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I'm healing your fucking dumbass. You're costing me so much in resources. It was retarded. Their mitigation sucked. Their mitigation was the worst ever. In 21 years of MMOing, you're never going to change the fact that high health tanks have more mitigation. It's in every MMO that has the West. Guess what? A tank. Right? We're not walking around with a cart and buggy and calling it a tank. No, a tank is a giant, slow, monstrous friggin' vehicle that can take a lot of hits and dish out and take a lot of punishment. That's what the fuck a tank is. Alright, guys? Seriously. So, there it is. Said and done. This is the Unyielding Brute build. And yeah, I know I might seem a little salty. It's just because months ago, people just bashed me for having high health tanks. But guess what? It's meta. It's meta now. Okay, whatever. 21 years of MMOing out the window. That's why I do it. This is why I'm a YouTuber. Alright guys, if you have any questions or comments, post below. I want to thank you guys for watching today. And once again and always, have a nice day.